Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah. I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Work with me, you know that I got it. Come with me, let's take a trip to the islands. We up on the jet, we'll do more than just fly on it. Stand on that hill, you gon' die on it. Boom, boom. Baby, I'm not one of them, you should try on it. Miss me with all that, I'm on it.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode podcast to talk about our favorite team. Huge shout out to the people that are currently here in the chat. We got X in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you for being here. I do not know what happened to my intro, but there was supposed to be an intro that popped up right after the countdown. It just didn't happen. So the countdown was a little longer than usual, but no worries, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have a good, fun-filled show for you guys today because guess what? Today is less than 48 hours away. A lot less than 48 hours away right now, right? Before the week 3 matchup, Detroit Lions versus the Arizona Cardinals. And man, oh man, I am so excited about this matchup. And I think this is going to be an opportunity for the Cardinals to come out here and prove a lot of people wrong. Even within our own fan base, ladies and gentlemen, even within our own fan base, we have a lot of people that are just not quite there with the season. I read a lot of comments. I have all social medias, and for the most part, there is a lot of Cardinal fans that are still pessimistic, right? There's Cardinal fans like me that obviously we celebrate a win. We get as excited as can be. We get bummed out with losses, right? But there's a lot of Cardinal fans out there that are still pessimistic about the season. And that's fine, right? That's completely fine. I think at the end of the day, the Cardinals are going to be the ones to have to prove to the rest of the world, as well as the rest of the Cardinals fan base, that they are legit, right? And what better game? What better game to do so than to start off here week 3 versus the Detroit Lions, which were in the Final Four in the playoffs last year. So this is not a slouch team. This is not a slouch team at all. This is going to be a very, very good team coming into State Farm Stadium. And I think this is one of the biggest tests for the Arizona Cardinals heading into the regular season. So I'm really excited about it. I'm absolutely really excited about it. So we're going to have a lot to talk about here today. Obviously, we heard from Jonathan Gannon. If you did not hear or watch the latest video, I have a lot of clips of Jonathan Gannon. We ended up kind of deep diving what he ended up saying in his press conference a little earlier. We also, sprinkled in some of the interview here from Monty Austinfort with Arizona Sports 98.7. So definitely check that video out if you haven't checked that out already. But today we're going to mainly talk about, obviously what are some keys to beat the Detroit Lions, right? That's the biggest thing that we're talking about, right? As Cardinal fans, what is the biggest keys to beat the Detroit Lions? And I think they're beatable. I really do. I think they're a beatable team. It's just we're going to have to play this game very, very strategically. Now, there's been multiple different things. Obviously, I think the media for the Detroit Lions is a lot bigger because obviously, right? The Detroit Lions, I believe they have a bigger fan base than the Cardinals. And with that comes more media, right? And I feel like the media with the Detroit Lions asks a little bit more harder questions to obviously the head coach and whoever they're, asking questions to. So there was a specific question asked to Dan Campbell, because if you guys don't know, whoever's talking about the NFC, a few names are popped up, right? I'm sorry, not names. A few teams are popped up for potential, deep playoff push teams in the NFC alone. Some of those teams are the Lions, the 49ers. I guess you could throw the Eagles in there. I guess if you want to throw the Cowboys in there, and I guess you could throw the Saints in Tampa now, right? Those are the big names out there in terms of the teams that are potentially going to make a big playoff push in the playoffs in 2024. Now, there was a specific question asked to Dan Campbell, and I believe he was on the local radio station for Detroit Lion, I'm assuming sports radio, and they ended up asking him about the offense, right? Because I think it's obvious to know that Jared Goff isn't playing like Jared Goff that we're used to seeing in late in 2023, right? Now, it's kind of really hard to obviously dissect because the season's just started, right? The season's just started, but it's just a tribute to the type of sports media that's in Detroit compared to here, right? Because we have more patience here in Arizona, where in Detroit, if you were in the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, not the Super Bowl, if you were in the conference championship, and then, you don't do really well in the first two games, they let you have it, right? But I want to kind of highlight a specific thing that Dan Campbell ended up saying. And this is basically what he said when he was asked about, why the offense hasn't got clicking yet. And he says this: I'm shocked. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if we were not cooking by the time we get to the bye. He's talking about the bye week. Sometimes it takes a minute, Campbell said. Tuesday on 97.1, the ticket in Detroit. All those great offenses we had in New Orleans, the great offenses we had here over the last 3 years, man, it's not always perfect early. So I'm not rattled or shaken by this at all. Now, this is a great response, right? This is a great response. Politically correct, coming from your head coach, the leader of this locker room. This is a very, very good response. But as a, I guess, Detroit Lion fan, how do you feel, right? How do you feel about this? Because he's coming out here and saying that obviously he's not shocked, and he'll be like, I'll be honest, like he's saying that if we're not cooking by the bye, he wouldn't be shocked by that. Like the bye week is what he's saying. Like that's wild. That's absolutely wild to me, because this is the same team that was in the Final Four last year. This is the exact same team with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Laporta, and then, Jamison Williams, which obviously he only really got going in the late part of 2023, but, he's doing really good to start off this season for the Lions. And it's really odd. It's a really odd thing to say, but this is kind of one of those things that I've been talking about where if you're going to get a team like the Buffalo Bills, right, which we had, if you're going to get a team like the Rams, if you're going to get teams like the Lions, you might as well play them early. You might as well play them early because you never know, right? The Lions were dealing with all sorts of injuries. And did you guys not see around the NFC West? It's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. The 49ers can't stay healthy. The Rams have their own share of injuries. There was just breaking news that said that George Kittle, tight end for the 49ers, will not be playing, or he's listed as doubtful for a week 3 matchup versus the Rams. Like, it's crazy what's happening in the NFC West right now. We're one of the healthiest teams. Honestly, we're one of the healthiest teams. And I guess you can kind of throw in Seahawks in there, but they're missing their star running back-to-back weeks, or at least I think he's listed as doubtful, right? So there's a lot of injuries in the NFC West right now. But continue to talk about what Campbell said here, right? So I'm not shocked. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if we're not cooking by the time we get to the bye. Now, I'm so curious here. What is the Detroit Lions bye week? Because I'm so curious to figure out. So let me take. So we got the Cardinals. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we'll give them a little leeway because their bye week is actually right after the Seahawks game. And the Seahawks game is the game after us. So they got week 3 versus the Cardinals. They got week 4 versus the Lions. And they got their bye week really, really early on week 6. So, okay, I guess we'll give them a little bit of a leeway, right? But dang, that's still a long time. That's still a very, very long time. That's still a very, very long time. They got a really early bye week. I did not know that until I'm actually looking at this right now here. So week 3 versus the Cardinals, week 4 versus the Seahawks, and then they got week 5 bye week. Wow. That's still a very long time to potentially say, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not cooking by the time the bye. That's crazy. Okay. I mean, hey, that's only better for us. That's only better for us because we've seen what this offense can be with Kyler Murray hitting on all cylinders. We've seen that, right? We've seen what this offense can be with Kyler Murray hitting on all cylinders. Wow. Okay. There are a lot of keys to potentially beat this team. Let me give a huge shout out here real quick to the sponsor of the video, BetUS. Wasn't able to do it a little earlier, but they are currently the sponsor of the Arizona Sports Fan here throughout the entirety of the NFL season. The AZ Sports Fan on YouTube is powered by BetUS. Currently, right now, if you use promo code YouTube 150, they'll provide you with a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, and the next 2 deposits will be a 125% sign-up bonus, and that is going to be up to $2,000. So using promo code YouTube 150 will provide you that great offer to sign up to potentially cash some bets. We got some pretty crazy things to obviously talk about. One of the biggest prop bets that you could obviously go after is Marvin Harrison Jr. touchdowns or Kyler Murray touchdowns, right? You got different options. You got a 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown, 3 touchdown, and the same thing for Kyler Murray here at the bottom. So I think this is going to be a very, very high scoring game. I really do. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. So if you want to go ahead and take a prop, make sure you go ahead and use YouTube 150 promo code upon signing up. And shout out here to BetUS. So let's continue to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue to talk about this. Okay. So here's the big question here, right? Are the Lions ready for the Cardinals? Are the Lions ready for the Cardinals? Because the way I'm hearing Dan Campbell talk, I don't know. It almost kind of feels like they're not there yet, right? Heading into week 3, it's so wild because the Cardinals offense feels like they're not all the way there, but damn, do they look good, right? They're not all the way there, but damn, do they look good, right? Obviously, our offense is a big, big focal point for our run game to get going. And then with that run game and James Conner, it's going to open up a lot of holes. So what's the game plan, right? What's the game plan? What are some things the Cardinals need to do? It's as easy as run the ball down their throat, right? It's as easy as that. James Conner needs to get the ball early and make some big big plays on the ground. Like, it's as simple as that. We need to get the ball running on the ground really, really quickly and fast, right? Trey Benson, I want to see some Trey Benson. I want to see some Amari Mercado. I would love to see Trey Benson do a little bit more, I guess, picking the right holes. We've seen 2 weeks of Trey Benson so far, and the beautiful thing is that Trey Benson doesn't need to be a superstar right off the bat, right? We have James Conner for that. But I would love to still see Trey Benson take some reps whenever James Conner needs to sit. But biggest key is run the ball. Now, their defensive line is completely different than the last opponent that we had in the Rams, right? Completely different. Night and day different. So it's going to be hard. But we got to establish the run game. If you cannot establish the run game, then it just makes it a little harder, right? Can the Cardinals still win? Yes, of course, right? I think I have a lot of faith in what Kyler Murray can do back there, right? We've seen the elusiveness of what Kyler Murray has done in week 2 and even in week 1. And I'm only assuming that's going to translate over into week 3, right? Kyler Murray doesn't need to play Superman all the time, but man, when he can extend plays, it looks good. He looks really, really good. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what he can do here in week 3. Now, here's another big question here, right? Who are we worried about, right? Who are we worried about on the defensive side of the ball? This man right here. Woo! Hutchinson, ladies. Aiden Hutchinson. There needs to be somehow a way for the Cardinals to make sure that we keep Kyler Murray upright. Now, we did get a little bit of news from Kelvin Beachum, right tackle. He was listed as a limited participant, earlier in the week, but he didn't practice today. Jonathan Gannon came out and said, we will see. It looks like he's trying to keep that close to the vest, but he didn't practice today on Friday. Is he giving him a little bit of a day to recover his hamstring for obviously Saturday, and then he's going to be ready to go on Sunday? Maybe, right? We don't 100% know. I don't think it's time to throw ourselves off a building yet, but I think we can all live comfortably if Kelvin Beachum will play. Right now, it's up in the air. He didn't practice, but this right here is the biggest threat that Detroit offers the Cardinals. The biggest threat. Now, I do have a graphic here, and shout out here to the 33rd team on X/Twitter. They ended up putting this graphic up here, and you can't see his face down there, but you see his glorious hair. That is going to be Aiden Hutchinson back there, and it basically shows you the players that has the most pressures and has the most sacks in the NFL. And guess who's on the top? Guess who's on the top? Mr. Aiden Hutchinson. Already with 5.5 sacks on the season. About, 17 or 16 pressures? This guy is as good as advertised. He's as good as advertised. So if the Arizona Cardinals are having a game plan, right, to try to take somebody out, right, in terms of trying to limit his explosive play, it's going to have to be this guy. We're going to need to find a way. I don't know how it's going to be established. I don't know if Hayden Hutchinson is going to primarily line up with, Paris Johnson Jr. I don't know if the plan is going to be, let's see what happens at right tackle and then move him. I don't know, right? I don't know. But this is a very, very, very big player that can make impactful plays on this team versus the Cardinals, right? Let me shine up this graphic again one more time. Aiden Hutchinson, 5.5 sacks already and 16 pressures. One of the most dangerous outside linebackers right now in the NFL is the guy who we're playing in week 3. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the Cardinals can't, hold their own, because I think this offensive line has actually did a pretty darn good job this year so far. I think this offensive line has actually done pretty good so far this year. Really, truly. Think they have. They've done actually pretty good. Biggest question right now is, can we contain him? He's going to get back there. He's going to cause pressures. He's going to cause sacks. Can we contain Aiden Hutchinson? That's going to be the biggest question out there. Let's see what happens. But this guy right here should definitely be marked and circled as to somebody that we got to make sure that he does not make a big impactful play on this team, because this guy can make crazy noise. Crazy noise. And we'll have to kind of wait and see how it all shakes out, obviously. So I want to go ahead and take some time here. Dan Campbell was asked about this offense, but not in that thing that we were talking about a little earlier, where he was speaking to the local radio station, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't cooking up until the bye. But this is exactly what you want to see, right? A team that's not 100% cooking on the offensive side of the ball, and hopefully the Arizona Cardinals can cook. But we do have a clip here from Dan Campbell when asked about the offense and how he feels about the offense so far in the 2024 season. And this is what Dan Campbell had to say.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job. I mean, look, you ask any of them, they would tell you they hadn't played their best game yet, and us collectively, we have not played our best game yet, offense, defense, and special teams. But that's the whole point of what we're doing now. And it's about playing your best ball by the time you hit the end of the season. And you just gotta improve a little bit every week. So, no, I am not discouraged with that group. And look, I go back to this. We knew we were going to throw it quite a bit last week, but anytime you throw over 50 times, you're putting a strain on your O-line. I mean, that's the truth. So, and ultimately, we'd love to be balanced more times than not, and that plays right into the hands of our O-line.
And the wild thing is that I look at this team with the Detroit Lions, and I see a very, very good put together team on the offensive side of the ball. Defense as well, right? But I want to speak on the offense right now. I see a very, very well put together team in the Detroit Lions. I really do. They're a really fantastic team. Sometimes I feel like if they are down, they rely so much on their passing game, right? And they almost kind of seem to forget that they got a really good two-headed monster back there, right? In Jahmyr Gibbs as well as David Montgomery. What we got to do is we got to make sure that when the Arizona Cardinals suit up in week 3, we got to punch them in the mouth and make them fear to use their running game. Once we stop them, and maybe they settle for a field goal, our offense needs to come on and just give explosion on the offensive side of the ball. That's the key, the biggest key to success here. Limit their run game with Jahmyr Gibbs as well as David Montgomery. Make them forget that they got him back there, and have this offense with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, and just do not let go on the gas pedal. Continue to score points, whether it's a field goal, a touchdown, it doesn't matter. As long as you're scoring points in every single drive, you put the pressure on Dan Campbell and the rest of that team to panic a little bit, just a little panic, we can potentially win this game. Right now, in most sports books, they have the Detroit Lions being favored to win, right? And okay, it makes sense, right? The Detroit Lions are a very good team on paper. They are, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they're terrible, because they're not. They're a very, very good team. But you cannot ignore the elephant in the room in that Jared Goff is not having a good start to the season. He's got 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and his QBR rating is like 40 something. He doesn't look good right now. He really doesn't. But that's what we need to do as a team. We need to limit their run game to the point where when we get the ball in our hands, we are constantly putting points up that they seem to forget about Jahmyr Gibbs as well as David Montgomery. Because this game is going to come down to who's going to be able to run the ball the best. Who's going to be able to keep the offense on the field, chew up that time of possession, and keep momentum on our side of our side. That's going to be the biggest key to success in this game. I've already mentioned a few, right? But this is the biggest one. Limit their play on the run game and make sure that Jared Goff is the one that beats us. Now, the Detroit Lions have beaten us 4 out of the 5 last times we played them. 4 out of the 5 last times we played the Detroit Lions, they beat us. The 5th time, we tied with them. But we've also mentioned the fact that there was a streak that came along with playing the Rams, right? We beat the Rams. We end that streak. We finally took down Sean McVay in an actually unforgettable fashion, because now people are coming out here and saying things like, wow, Kyler Murray's playing like an MVP again. Wow, this Arizona Cardinal offense might do something here. Yeah, potentially. Because guess what? Look at the remaining schedule. I'm sorry, not even the remaining schedule. After this game, so if the Cardinals lose, just let's say we're living in a world where the Cardinals play very, very tough, but they don't beat the Lions, right? It's not the end of the world. It really isn't. Will I be a little sad? Yeah, of course. I hate seeing my Cardinals lose, but it's not the end of the world. Because right after this Detroit Lions game, we got the Commanders, which is a beatable team. We got the 49ers, which let's call it like it is. They are very, very injured right now. We know C-Mac won't play, right? We know Christian McCaffrey. I understand Jordan Mason looks good. I get that. We don't know what the progression of Debo is going to be. Maybe he'll be back. George Kittle was already ruled out for week 3. We don't know exactly how his injury is going to shake out, right? After the 49ers, we got the Packers. It's not very good that we're going to be playing them in Lambeau. That's not ideal, but I would rather play them in October than December. Then we got the Chargers. I don't believe in the Chargers. I really don't. Then we got the Dolphins. Who knows if Tua is coming back by then. Then we got the Bears, a rookie QB. Then the Jets. Then the Seahawks. Then the Vikings. And I'll stop there. I'm not going through the entire schedule. We got some winnable games. We got some absolute winnable games here. But obviously, we don't want to look too far ahead. We want to focus on the task at hand. And that's going to be obviously week 3 versus the Detroit Lions. This is a winnable game. It really is. And I get it. There's Cardinal fans that are pessimistic at the thought of maybe the Cardinals are not going to be able to do it, right? But you better bet your bottom dollar. If the Arizona Cardinals do beat the Lions, there will be many, many people in the chats talking different if they do come out and beat the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, it's a big if, right? It's a big if. It's not one of those things that's going to be an easy thing to do. It's going to be a very, very hard task. An absolute tough task for the Arizona Cardinals to do that. Back-to-back wins. But imagine it. Imagine the Cardinals beat the Detroit Lions. There would be so much people changing their tunes because this Detroit Lions, although they are not clicking, although they are not there yet, and Dan Campbell acknowledges it, right? He even came out and said he won't be surprised if they're not clicking, right? Before the bye week, which is week 5, so it's not too far away. But if we can catch the Detroit Lions slipping, right? If we can catch the Detroit Lions when they're not doing so well, we might be able to get this win here. We might be able to get this win. Truly. Truly. We got my guy in the chat here says, guaranteed we beat the Lions. They got nothing for Marv. I love the confidence. I love the confidence. I mean, right now, it seems like their main cornerbacks, well, not main, I'm sorry, not their main, but a good majority of their cornerbacks right now are rookies. They might have, let's take a look here. Let's look at their depth chart here real quick. I know they have a veteran, but it's slipping my mind right now. Okay, so their cornerbacks right now, Carlton Davis, which, I mean, he's not a slouch. Pretty good. But they also got Terry and Arnold, rookie. And then Anis Rakenstraw Jr., I think he's actually already ruled out. Terry and Arnold, I actually heard the press conference here from Dan Campbell saying that today, which on Friday, was going to be a big day for him if he's going to go or not. But if he doesn't go, man, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to show out. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have himself a day. Because their defensive line is really good. Their defense, Aiden Hutchinson is wildly good. Like, he's good. Very good, right? But this is the biggest threat on their defense to me. Their offense is very, very well put together. Very well put together. They got the offensive wide receivers. They got the running backs. They got the tight end. What I fear the most on their defense is this man right here. And obviously, we flashed this graphic a little earlier. And again, huge shout out here to the 33rd team. I believe on X/Twitter, they ended up putting this graphic up and obviously showing the amount of sacks to pressures. And Aiden Hutchinson's at the very, very top. Very good player. A very, very good player in Aiden Hutchinson. This is going to be a very good game. A very, very good game. Noah in the chat says, that dude is scary. Got to contain him. Absolutely. Yeah. That's another key to success that we mentioned a little earlier, right? Somehow find a way to contain him, right? Somehow, some way, find a way to contain Aiden Hutchinson. I know you can't stop him. He's going to cause pressure, which that on its own is bad news, right? That on its own is bad news. If the pressure, if Kyler Murray feels pressure, or if any quarterback feels pressure, they're not going to be able to read through their reads very, very well. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that dude is scary. Absolutely. Absolutely. We got my guy Jesus says, okay, calm down. The Rams aren't that good. I mean, well, the Rams have beat us with very, very subpar teams before. I don't know if you remember, but the Rams have beat us and always found ways to beat us. Always. And even that's with John Wolford at quarterback. I don't know if you guys remember, but the Cardinals never have done good against the Rams. And this is going back to 2014, ladies and gentlemen. So also keep that in mind. It's any given Sunday, right? You never know what's going to happen. It's all due to who you have on the field, what's the game plan, if the explosives work or not. So although what you're saying is, a little true with the fact that their injuries are off the chart, but Matthew Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you cannot deny that. We made Matthew Stafford look really, really bad. Really bad. We lost against a John Wolford-led Rams at one point. The Rams has had our numbers at home since 2014. Let that sink in. And that's with not Matthew Stafford, a little bit of Jared Goff, right? And whoever the heck their quarterback was prior. 2014. So, regardless, the way the Cardinals beat them, there's a lot to be optimistic about. A lot to be optimistic about. So, recapping this, ladies and gentlemen, what are some keys to success to beat the Detroit Lions? Can we? I think it's possible. I think the Cardinals can get this team to a chance where they need a wake-up call, maybe even a second wake-up call. Because the way Lions media is talking about the Cardinals, they know that they're a good team offensively, but I've heard it straight from their mouth. They are not worried about the defense. Okay. That's fine. Right? Okay. But the Arizona Cardinals need to find some way to contain Aiden Hutchinson. Not stop him, but somehow contain him. Next one is going to be the Arizona Cardinals need to find a way to contain their run game and allow Jared Goff to beat them through the air. I understand they got a lot of offensive weapons on that side, right? A lot. Laporta, J-Mo, Jameson Williams. You also got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then obviously they're two running backs, right? They got a good offensive weapons over there. But you got to find a way to contain that run game and constantly have your offense put points up on that board. Because if you put points up on the board and you're constantly, they're trying to get out of this hole, then they could potentially forget about the run game. And I think that right there can be a huge key to success. Allow Jared Goff to beat you, not this run game, because this run game can be very, 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 very good with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. The last key, you got to get that run game going with James Conner. You have to. Whether it's going to be catching out of the backfield, whether it's a short play, whether it's going to be gashing them up the middle on the outside, whatever Drew Petzing thinks like it's going to expose that team, that's what the Cardinals need to do. They need to get that run game going absolutely involved. Absolutely involved. Let's read a couple questions here, and then we're going to go ahead and close up shop. We got X in the chat saying, Mike, do you think we pick the ball off this game? Sean McVay was heard saying our defense did a really good job disguising being sneaky. I mean, potentially. I mean, Jared Goff's got 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. I mean, he's not playing very, very well. I like our cornerbacks. I think our defensive backs, including our safeties, are very, very good. Honestly, I was a little worried about them, but I actually really like them. Obviously, I'm more confident in our safeties with Jalen as well as Buddha, but Sean Murphy Bunting is not looking bad. Starling Thomas V isn't looking bad. Max Melton, we sprinkled here and there. Garrett Williams. I'm confident. We potentially can. Yeah, we potentially can. One more comment, and we're going to close up shop here, ladies and gentlemen. We got my guy Andy in the chat says, now we need to find a way to beat them so they can feel the pain we have all those years. That is why I hated the Rams so much. Well, we beat the Rams, unless you're talking about the Lions, because the Lions have beat us 4 out of the 5 times. In that 5th time, we actually tied them. So this might be the year, ladies and gentlemen. This might be the year where the Arizona Cardinals breaks all sorts of streaks, and that's something that we're looking forward to the most. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be closing up shop here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, appreciate y'all. If you can do me a huge favor, smack up that like button. Do it for the algorithm, and we got a game in 2 days. We got Cardinals football in 2 or less than 2 days now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Cards.